So, what should we be focusing on over the next few weeks in our discussion about the American dream, about the economy, and about the disparities that we see between African Americans and other people in this country?
You know, I'm reminded of a moment during the right after September 11, 2001, when we came together, people talked of us all being in the same boat. But if we're in the same boat, some people are riding and some people are rowing. It's African Americans that are doing the rowing in terms of the economic turbulent waters. We see it in terms of the foreclosure crisis. We see it in terms of the joblessness. We see it in terms of the conditions of our schools. And the fact is, I don't want to hear about another pig on lipstick. I want to hear about what people are prepared to do about the jobs crisis, about the foreclosure crisis, now about the global meltdown that we're triggering with the failure of our great financial institutions. This is the kind of debate we need to have. There needs to be someone who's willing to take the candidates aside and say, answer me on this. Why no health care? What will you do about it? What will you do about jobs? We have created jobs as a government before. In 1973 to 2001, the CETA program, 1973 to 1981, forgive me.
Yeah.
The CETA program was very successful in not only creating jobs, but taking those resources to inner cities where they were very needed, keeping libraries open for longer hours, manning child care centers and doing things like that. And we haven't done that since then. And now is the ripe time to say to so many young people graduating from college who can't find jobs because their dads and moms are also being laid off, saying to them, there's a place for you in this economy. That's the kind of policy conversation that needs to drive our decisions. If we're stuck with the one-liners, the question is who's funniest? And I do not need a comedian to be the president of the United States, or a comedian with a rifle. What we need are people who are ready to put their noses to the grindstone and do the hard work. And the African American community has been hardest hit. We have been so hard hit that you can see it in terms of people who are losing homes, the home ownership declining since 2004 by about 3 percentage points. We got all the way to a home ownership high of nearly 50%, and then it comes tumbling down. Meanwhile, the gap between whites and African Americans is large. And with every economic indicator, the gaps are large, and we're not paying enough attention to them.
What is it going to take, though, to get our media as well as our politicians to get more focused on these issues?
I think with the media, we have to be active consumers of media, which means that we have to give people feedback about those interviews we like and the ones we don't like, the programs we like and the ones we don't like. It should be untenable that any news organization has a roundtable that has no person of color on it, or no woman. That should be untenable, and those of us who are progressive need to say that this is our line in the sand. Unless you put a woman on there, unless you put a person of color on there, we're not going to patronize you. There's ad dollars. I think with our politicians, we have to be willing to vote with our votes and show up and say to them, stop being so silly. Stop, get out of this. Tell us about these policy issues and where you stand on them. And we need to track them. We've seen a whole lot of flip-flopping in this campaign. We need to say, this is what you said on this day, this is what you said on this day. Tell me why you changed your mind. Now, I don't have a problem with people changing their mind. I change mine all the time. But I need to be able to say why. Okay. And it should be more than someone put their finger in the wind and say, which way is the wind blowing?
Got one more question for you. It occurs to me that when we see the headlines about the AAG bailout, the Fannie Freddie bailout, that there might be people in the African American community who are asking the question, where is my bailout? Is that a fair question?
It's a very fair question. The fact is that these big bailouts, in some cases, the Fannie Freddie case, it's us. I mean, these are quasi-government institutions. I cannot figure the AIG bailout out. It was done with very little authority, no discussion. Bernanke just decided to do it, and it was so egregious, frankly, that the House Majority Leader Nancy Pelosi has raised questions about curtailing Bernanke's authority because of what seems to be capricious way this is handled. Did it have to be done that day, that quick? Couldn't there have been some public discussion? But the fact is, then there are people who say, well, then bail out our neighborhoods, which have been basically devastated. by companies leaving. And from my perspective, I'd say bail out some of America's black colleges. I mean, if you can bail out Fannie and Freddie, what about FAMU and Bennett College for Women? The fact is that we do the lion's share of educating work. African American, our historically black colleges represent 2% of all the nation's colleges. We graduate 13 to 15% of our BA degrees. So we ought to be getting bailouts, but instead we've got a government that says that they want to cut our dollars rather than raise them.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Malveaux.
Of course, thank you.